Rooney better than Suarez? Rooney better than Haaland? Rooney better than Kane? Wayne Rooney is delusional for thinking he was better than Neymar, Suarez, Zlatan, Del Piero, Kane, Aguero, Haaland and Lewandowski. That's what I'm reading. Young football fans laughing at Rooney for rating himself. But here's the thing, Rooney isn't delusional, is he? He's just kind of telling the truth. The younger generation have absolutely no idea how good Rooney was. He didn't just have a good career, he had one of the greatest careers in the history of the sport. 208 goals and 108 assists in the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne has been considered the best attacking midfielder in the Premier League over the last decade, and to the current generation, many of them consider him the #1 midfielder in the league's history. He's got 119 assists and Rooney's got 108. What about Kane? He scored 213 Premier League goals. 5 more than Rooney. So let me get this straight. Rooney's just 5 behind the best striker of the modern era and 11 assists behind the best creator of the modern era. And people think he's delusional? Yeah, I think it's time I roll my sleeves up for this video because it is absolutely needed. What makes Rooney's numbers even more ridiculous though is that he was never really considered a player whose stats were the best gauge of his ability. He was much more than goals and assists. He was a force of nature for those who remember watching him. The ultimate team player. While other forwards focused on their goal tally, Rooney sacrificed personal glory for the good in the team, over and over again. When he arrived at United, he played second fiddle to Ruud. After Ruud left, Fergie wanted to build the team around Ronaldo. What did Rooney do? He consistently sacrificed himself to get the best out of Ronaldo. He adapted his game, played wherever the team needed him, and helped United win the lot. When Ronaldo left, United lost a lot of goals. People wondered if Rooney could step up and be the main man. He scored 26 league goals in his first season as an out-and-out number 9. Problem solved. Over the next 3 seasons, Rooney fired United to a league title and a Champions League final as a number 9. Then Van Persie signed for United, and people once again doubted if Rooney could make it work. He scored 16 goals and created 14 in 37 appearances as United won the league in Fergie's last season. The two of them combined for probably the most iconic moment of that season with that goal against Villa. That's what separates Rooney from everyone else. He could form dangerous strike partnerships with anyone, really. Anyone. It didn't require a specific profile of player to get the best out of him. Target men like Duncan Ferguson or Emil Heskey, or poachers like Van Nistelrooy or Michael Owen, technicians like Berbatov or Van Persie, or players who could do everything like Zaha. He was world class with all of them. And even Tevez, who pundits constantly said he'd be unable to work with because they were too similar. They were unreal together. He was a gifted genius of a footballer, but he was also adaptable and willing to adjust his game to form partnerships with anyone. And he didn't expect people to make concessions to accommodate him. Think about that in the modern game for a second. How many strikers can you name who are that versatile whilst remaining effective? How many players can seamlessly switch between being the main goal scorer, the creative force, and a supporting player, depending on what the team needs? The answer's not many. But now we're meant to act like he was good but limited? Let me tell you how limited he was. Tap-ins, headers, volleys, driven screamers, solo goals. He could make a lung-busting recovery run all day. Coming out of 50-50s with the ball, he could ping 40-yard passes. He scored free kicks. He had the vision and the athleticism and composure to finish counter-attacks. He chipped keepers, threaded passes through to teammates. And before injuries caught up with him, he did have blistering speed. He really did have everything. And the maddest thing was, he burst onto the scene pretty much fully developed. Didn't require that patience from fans whilst he found his feet. October 2002, 5 days before his 17th birthday, Arsenal away, last-minute winner, Premier League's youngest ever goal scorer. And Wenger dubbed him the biggest English talent he'd seen by far. Then, of course, he lit up Euro 2004, and we know what happened then. United signed him off the back of that. He was the most expensive British teenager ever, £25.6 million for a teenager in 2004. It's like spending 100 mil on a teenager today. But Fergie knew what he was getting. A phenom who was ready to go right away. Now, Rooney spent most of his career at United and became the record goal scorer. He also became England's top scorer, breaking a record that had stood for over 40 years. In the Champions League, he scored 30 goals and assisted 21 in 85 appearances. More than 1 goal contribution every other game in Europe's elite competition. And his trophy cabinet, it speaks for itself. 5 Premier League titles, 1 FA Cup, 3 League Cups, 1 Champions League, 1 Europa League, PFA Player of the Year winner, 2-time PFA Young Player of the Year winner, 3-time PFA Team of the Year, and Golden Boy winner. And on top of all of his trophies and personal awards, this bit's important. Rooney was a cultural icon. Between 2006 and 2012, he was on the cover of FIFA every year, 7 times. 4 of those years, it was Rooney and Ronaldinho on the cover together. You've got to be some player to be deemed worthy of sharing the cover with a player like Ronaldinho during the noughties. Rooney's fame in street football even spawned a Sky One reality show called Street Striker, and if you've not seen it, Google it. It's great fun. He was absolutely everywhere during the 2000s, a level of stardom for an English sportsman that only David Beckham had experienced before or since. So what happened? How do people now feel comfortable calling him delusional? I think the simple answer is he aged poorly. He was finished at the top level by around 29, and people used that against him. myself included. But if you scratch beneath the surface, this isn't an indictment of his ability, it's just evidence that starting his career so early took its toll on his body. He played first-team football week in, week out in the most intense league from 16 years old. He played over 120 games before he turned 20. And it's not as if he was a player who'd relax and take it easy either. He was sprinting aggressively throughout every match, lung-busting runs, flying into challenges. And add to this the fact that he was notorious for playing through injuries that would keep other players out of the team. It's kind of no surprise that his legs went so young. People point to his decline as evidence that he wasn't truly elite, but they're missing the point really. Rooney's peak years, which I would say probably 2004 to 2013, represent a decade of sustained excellence that few players in history can match. The fact that he burned out early is proof of how intensely he played the game, rather than proof that he wasn't elite. And even in his later years at United, he was still doing stuff like dragging United back into the FA Cup final against Palace. But people see him at Everton in his final years and think that's who he always was. They forget the teenager who bullied grown men. They forget the ball of rage who unleashed that volley against Newcastle, the bicycle kick against City, the goal from the halfway line against West Ham. They forget the moment he broke Sir Bobby Charlton's goal-scoring record at United. And you know what he did when he scored that? Nothing. Demanded his teammate get the ball from the back of the net, and he ran back to the halfway line, desperate to get the game restarted as fast as possible in an attempt to try and win the game late. That's Wayne Rooney. Never about him, always about the team. More than capable of being the star, and he was the star, but always willing to suppress his light in order for those around him to shine brighter. Perhaps the greatest team player to ever play the game for United. And now young fans on Twitter think he's delusional for saying he's better than some players like Neymar and Zlatan. And if you're not going to believe yourself, then who would? Neymar, he kind of made everything about himself, was successful, but Rooney is far from delusional. The next time you see someone on Twitter calling Rooney delusional or overrated, remember this. They're not just wrong about Rooney, they're also wrong about what makes a great footballer. It's about making everyone around you better. It's about showing up when it matters the most. It's about sacrificing personal glory for team success sometimes. Rooney could probably have scored 300 Premier League goals if he had been selfish. He's a player who could have had 150 assists if he refused to play as an out-and-out number 9. He's a player who could have been the undisputed star of every team he played for, but he never really was. And it didn't stop him from becoming United's record goal scorer in the process. He is a legend and deserves the praise that he's not getting enough of.